Hello and welcome back, everyone. It's just another day in the life as a military wife, and I have the story for you that is quite literally out of this world. And I mean quite literally, because it takes place on the International Space Station regarding our two wonderful astronauts who've been stranded there for an extended tour. And you might all be thinking, hey, Sam, why are you covering this? Well, 3 of the 4 main actors are military. So let's buckle up and enjoy what should have been a sci-fi blockbuster, but is now real life. As always, I'm your host, Sam Wolf, and this is Life of a Military Wife. Okay, well, let's dive on into this space opera and see what's going on. It started off back in rewinding in June of 2024. NASA astronauts Butch, Wilmore, and Suni Williams launched from on the Boeing Starliner, supposed to be about an 8-day jaunt to the ISS, but then there were thruster issues, helium leaks that turned their ride into, well, a little bit of a lemon. And by September, NASA was like, yeah, no, we're not going to risk it. And they sent the Starliner home, but empty, without Butch and Suni on it. Stranded there like, well, castaway, but better Wi-Fi and some zero-G. Now we enter Act 2. Enter stage left is SpaceX and their Dragon crew capsule. And on September 2028, 2024, they launch from Cape Canaveral, Florida with a skeleton crew of 2 people, Nick Hughes and Alexander Gorbunov. And forgive me again if I mess up names. But anyway, they go rescue our little stranded astronauts up at the ISS, International Space Station, kind of like, a really great Uber. And full rescue team. Well, the Dragon gets up there with 2 empty seats ready to pick up Butch and Suni, but here's the kicker. They won't be able to get them back until late February, turned now into March, because NASA has a 6-month crew rotation schedule, so it's kind of a bit of a layover. It kind of feels like Gilligan's Island here. I mean, 3-hour tour that turned into how many years? 8-day tour turned into 6 months plus. So it's got to have been a lot of fun for those guys up there. And you might be wondering, okay, where does the military aspect come in? Well, the military community has had a front row seat to this thing from the beginning, because SpaceX actually has really deep ties to the United States Air Force because of Starlink and Starshield. So they've got connections. And when the Pentagon was watching this and realizing, yeah, we gotta have to do something, we're gonna need to step in and get some help, SpaceX stepped up and decided to be the rescuers on this one. So they're going to have to get out, go up, get it, figure it out, and they've got this. We'll be good. It's all going to work out. And as of today, recording, we have takeoff. So let's enter the finding out who our main cast is. So here's where we break down. Our 2 main characters in this is Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams, and let's find out a little bit more about them. First up is Butch. His name is actually Barry Wilmore. He's a Navy captain, test pilot with a total logged hours of 8,000 flight hours. Yeah, from Tennessee. He is done 40 different plus aircrafts, including an FA-18 Hornet, and he's flown combat missions in the Gulf and in Bosnia. Kind of their little maverick there, stealing Tom Cruise's thunder here, because he's actually been to space and can do spacewalks. So slightly better than, Maverick. But the Navy crowd really loves Butch. He is one of their own, and he is a carrier pilot who traded in his jet fuel for rocket fuel. And from the veterans who've spoken about him, he is a cool-headed, decisive person who is probably subjecting everyone to dad jokes from, 250 miles above the earth. So, yay, you can't get away from him because it's the International Space Station. But, it is what it is. He has done 2 space flights before this, the STS 129 on the Atlantis, a Soyuz stint in 2014. So now he's stranded on the ISS and he's going to be, waiting for his ride with Suni. So let's introduce you to her now. Sunita Williams is another Navy rock star. She is a helicopter pilot who has logged over 3,000 hours and flew an H-46 Sea Knight and served in the Mediterranean during Desert Shield. She likes to run marathons in space too. So, that's rather impressive since I won't even run marathons on Earth. She's basically our little Wonder Woman of this story. She is a very well known and respected leader in the Navy aviation circles, and she's got this I'm going to get it done vibe, according to everyone. That is just something that's really needed in this situation. She's even stepped up during her extended staycation on the ISS and became the station commander. So, man, major props. I mean, she is definitely still working hard and doing amazing things. She has logged 322 days in space across 2 missions prior to this. So, she's added some more days to her little checklist there. She loves yoga, and apparently is really great with zero G, or at least she will be by the end of this trip. So now let's find out who the Uber space version rescue team are. And that is Nick Hughes. And first things first, I'm just going to admit he's Air Force. So I know there's going to be jokes out there from all y'all about how Air Force is rescuing Navy and all of that. Yeah, I know. We're military. We like to harass each other and tease each other. It happens. But Nick Hughes is an Air Force colonel. He is working now for SpaceX as a rescuer. He is an F-15 pilot with over 2,000 hours and has worked at the Pentagon. He experienced a launch abort in 2018 that would have pretty much terrified anyone else. So he's not, a novice when it comes to this sort of stuff. He's got experience and they're sending up a pretty talented crew here. He is an Air Force, like I said, test pilot turned astronaut who thrives on this sort of stuff. And he's ready to go. He wanted this gig and he's excited to be involved in this mission. It is his 3rd space flight. And, it'll be an interesting experience for him. Again, he also got an extended stay on the ISS, which he probably wasn't expecting. But, a vacation in space, that's all expenses paid, I guess. It's okay. So the next one of the rescuers is Alexander Gorbunov, and he is Russian. And he was a former military engineer, and he is newer to the space community. This is his first flight, but he does have a lot of experience building spacecraft. And so he's got the smarts and the skills to handle this situation. And it never hurts to have an engineer when you've been having mechanical issues. Now, granted, it was with the other spaceship, but better safe than sorry because they don't want this extended tour to get even more extended. And so that is why he is involved in this little rescue scenario. Now, for a fun little side tangent, Alexander has got some interesting characteristics. I mean, he's a family man, which is not surprising, but he also loves sci fi. I just don't think he thought he was going to find himself in a sci fi scenario like this one. Might have been off a little more than he can chew, or maybe that's why he's so game to be a part of this. And that takes us into the more recent developments. Now, like I said, they separated from the ISS. They're on their way home. We're super excited about this. But this mission has some massive stakes because if it succeeds, it's going to be a huge feather in the cap of SpaceX. They will have now flown 10 crewed missions for NASA since 2020, leaving Boeing in the dust in regards to this. And you know what? It's pretty impressive. They've done or 27 parachute tests. They've got a sleek design, they've got a great team, and this is a serious scenario where we genuinely had people that needed rescue and they were able to step it up and be there. And this is also something for those in the military community who've always been in love with space, and to have an opportunity to maybe work with an organization like this and get more done. If they can pull this off, there's a possibility also that the DoD might be willing to consider using them for satellite repairs or other projects. And at this rate, with the way that space exploration has exploded in the last few years, we might actually get that future we were promised as millennial children of, people being able to like live on the moon and all these other things. And I think that's fabulous. And who knows what they will be able to be commissioned for if they can prove that they, at a drop of the hat, they can do these rescue missions. It kind of reminds me back during the Cold War when we got the rescue subs that could attach to any country's submarine. And all of a sudden, being stuck in a submarine in the middle of the ocean was no longer a death sentence for submariners. We could rescue almost anyone, anywhere in the world, whether it was from the United States or any other country. And to be able to have that sort of a rescue capability now in outer space is absolutely amazing. And the fact that we're not having to just rely on military spaceships, that it's becoming a commercial thing that is just expands what we're going to be able to accomplish in the future in regards to space exploration and everything. It just makes me super excited because I will admit I was totally one of those sci-fi space nerd kids that wanted to join the Air Force and then become an astronaut and all of that. It didn't happen, as you all are pretty much able to guess, but it doesn't mean that I'm not passionate about space and I don't care about what we're able to accomplish in the future. It makes me super excited when I see these things. But again, one of the concerns that's always been out there is, what if it goes wrong? Are we going to be able to rescue our people? And so the more accessibility there is to space, when we've got these commercial ventures like SpaceX and Boeing and others that can fill in the gap, that makes a huge difference. It just means we can do so much more. And I'm totally amped and ready for it. It makes me really excited. And I'm not the only one. There's a lot of people, like I said, in the military community that are super jazzed about these options and this future. And not just in the military community, in general. I know that there is a ton of sci fi nerds that are super excited that the future we were promised may actually come. A little late for some of us, like myself, to be a part of it, but not impossible, and maybe our kids will do what we couldn't. But wrapping this up and just kind of going over this a little bit more, I've been watching this whole thing unfold from day one and wondering because it reminds me of the West Wing. And again, I'm a nerd. Y'all know that. I'm a total nerd. But there was a part of the West Wing, an episode where they had astronauts stranded on the International Space Station and they had no way to get them down. And it was a huge PR crisis for the President of the United States at the time. And they had to then send up a secret military shuttle that nobody knew existed. Well, thank goodness for President Biden and President Trump. There's not a secret military shuttle that is going to get us in trouble with the international community and get us White House staffers sent to jail. Instead, we had civilians who have been pursuing this technology and making this possible. And it's really interesting to me, and I always find this fascinating when art then happens in real life. So that West Wing scenario coming to fruition was a little deja vu-y. But I'm glad that it turned out well and we are going to be able to bring our astronauts home and that these military service members are not being stranded in space for even longer. I mean, their 8-day vacation got a massive extension, but it could have been a lot worse. And that's why it's so important that Space is no longer looked at as a governmental or a military endeavor, that it really is made open to the general public, and that it's not this political football being tossed around in diplomacy, but it's open to the entire community of the world, and that we can explore and help each other out and share. Maybe we can get along better in space than we do here on Earth, you know? Here's hoping. I'm not sure it's gonna happen, but, you know, I can dream. So, for all of my military folks listening and everyone else, specifically the crew that is on their way home, I am super excited for you. You're probably gonna be a little bit, and for Suni, you probably are gonna have to hold off on your marathons here on Earth for a while you get your Earth legs back and get reacclimated to Earth's gravity. But welcome home. Welcome back to our wonderful blue-green ball in the solar system. And hopefully, this means that we've got a few more options when it comes to this sort of stuff in the future. I know that for me, this is really awesome to see that there's a successful, happy resolution to the situation. I was actually working for a Challenger Space Center when the Columbia disaster took place, and that was just devastating for all of us there and just to see and witness. And so every single time we have one of these, a little bit of a scare in space. It is great for the space community, for people who care about this stuff, for the military community to see it resolved in a way that is going to preserve life and everything works out and all of that. And I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but again, part of my tie to the space community is the fact that I actually had a grandfather who helped build some stuff for NASA. So I have just always been very keen on this sort of stuff. And it's near and dear to my heart. So, welcome home. Welcome back to Earth, our wonderful astronauts and rescuers. Thank you for all that you do. And I can't wait to see you guys touchdown. And I am still working on my collaboration and waiting to hear back from the Library of Congress. As for the veteran interviews, I've been sending out, I had a lot of catching up to do after Roots Tech. So I've been sending out emails and text messages, trying to get those interviews scheduled. So please still feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to try to fit in as many people as I can, as quickly as I can. But y'all know I am a mom of four, and baby wolf is toddlery of all toddlerness, and that limits my recording time and interview time schedule. So I will be working around all of that to fit in as many people as possible. And that doesn't exclude anyone, military spouses. If you want to talk about what you're doing in your experience, I met some fabulous military spouses at Roots Tech as well. And I really hope to be able to have them on to talk about what they are doing in the family history sphere soon as well. And anyone else who's got resources that would be advantageous or helpful for the military community, please feel free to share them with me. I've got another panel episode dropping next week. We are going to be recording some new ones coming up. We've got lots of great things coming for all of you guys, and I am still working on projects right and left. I like trying to surprise you with fun new things, and you know, it's worth it. It's worth it to do this for you guys. I am really grateful for all of you listeners. Please like, subscribe, share, click it, stick it to the algorithm. Let's make this go viral and get these resources and stories out to the entire military community so that we can build and support and uplift each other. And like I always say, let's be the good we want to see in this world, because we can do that. And I am your host, Sam Wolf, and you've been listening to Life of a Military Wife.